Shabbat Shalom. So this is a special Shabbat. We celebrated, or observed, celebrated is not quite the right word. We observed Tisha B'Av this past week, and this is a mournful moment. It is a moment to tear down the walls and to mourn many of the destructions and calamities that have happened to our people. And so after Tisha B'Av, we have, I think, 7, is that right? 7 Shabbatot between that and Rosh Hashanah. And so this Shabbat has a very special name. It's called Shabbat Nachamu. It means the Shabbat of consolation or Shabbat of comfort. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we move into our Torah service. But I wanted to share a poem with you by Stacy Zizuk Robinson called That We All May Rise. The imagery you should know is that when someone mourns, they're supposed to sit on a low stool, and when they're done mourning, they rise up after Shiva, after the 7 days, or after mourning. So that'll be in this poem. It's called That We All May Rise. God of hidden things, unseen art, unheard notes, unfelt touch. God of fear and hope, and weary, worried hearts, hear my questions and cries. The world is heavy now, and the light arcs through a glass so darkly. My soul wanders, weighted and alone. Lift me, help me rise, and see. Help me rise and hear. Help me rise and feel, so that hope conquers fear, so that my weary, worried heart opens and pours forth love, like water, like wine. Comfort me, that I may comfort those who suffer and sigh. See me, that my eyes are open to the world around me. Lift me, that we all may rise. So we move into the beginning of our service with Modah, Kylan, Modet. Kylan's gonna jump in. She's been teaching Hebrew all summer, so.
Modet is the gender neutral.
Thank you. So Modet.
Okay, but Kylan, who's been our amazing rabbinic intern throughout this year. Throughout this summer, these past six
We wish it was longer.
6 weeks. Kylan, do you want to maybe introduce the person who you're next to right now, and also maybe tell us just a little bit about gender neutral Hebrew and your project this summer, and if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm here with my wife. Hi. 5th year cantorial student, Shani Cohen. And this summer I got to, just for fun, teach a Hebrew class on Wednesdays. And it was really important to include all 3 grammatical gender options to me. And there's a team that's working on fleshing out our gender neutral options. Non-binary Hebrew, there's a website. And they dig deep into like Talmudic context and it's what should be such an easy way to make sure that everyone feels included and loved by this wonderful thing we're engaged in.
So, yeah, thank you.
Shani.
Yeah, and so we're going to bring in Kylan and Shani a little later during the Torah service when we talk about Shabbat Nachamu. And in particular, Shani's going to sing a piece, a Nachamu, for us. So we're really honored that you're with us today. And very thankful that your shul there in New York, you're not in services with them right now, so we can borrow you.
That's true.
So yeah.
So we continue with Modeh, Modah, or Modet Ani, which give thanks right at the beginning of our service, right in our morning. It sets an attitude of gratitude so we can go throughout our day hopefully feeling grateful. Matovil. Our blessing over saying blessings when maybe that's not what we intended to say when we started out. The story behind it is there was this prophet and he was supposed to curse our people. He was supposed to curse us, and instead he blessed us. Oop, there we go. And the reason we are taught that there was a blessing instead of a curse is because our tents were open facing to each other in a very easy setup where we could have been closed off. We left our doors open, we left our flaps open, and we welcomed each other in. So this is a reminder of that moment and of when we want to say a curse to instead look for the blessing.
I feel like this is my story this week. I'm an anti-Bilam this week or something.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know, it got to me this week. Right, it's been what, 16 weeks, 18 weeks or something? Right, we're all living through a pandemic. And none of us, even if we're okay, and even if we are lucky and blessed, as God knows we feel very lucky and very, very fortunate, none of us are okay, right? Like, this is not okay. We are not living through an okay moment, and I don't know, I felt it this week. I know that I yelled at my kids at times when I should have just, like, given them a hug. I feel like I've been an anti-Bilam. So I'm going to hold on to this week and try to remember to make sure that the words that come out, even if they start in my head as a curse, they come out of my lips as a blessing. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha משכנותיך ישראל, ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה אליך קודשך, בעירותיך מה טובו, מה טובו, עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו, עליך יעקב, משכנותיך
So we continue giving thanks and appreciating what will hopefully be a joyful Shabbat for many of us with Hallelujah.
So I was reading up about Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat we're on right now, the Shabbat of consolation.
Comfort.
Though I like the word comfort better, right? Isn't that nicer than consolation? Yeah. Comfort, the Shabbat of comfort, because God knows we need a little comfort. But there was an ancient tradition. 600 years ago, the Jews in Germany, it turns out, looked at Shabbat Nachamu as really like a holiday that would be celebrated as we mean that word holiday, right? And so they'd stay up singing and dancing and eating and drinking and feasting all night. So there's this custom that the rabbis say that we say Psalm 150, right? And somehow if we say the last Psalm, it's like we've said all the 149 before it. It's the Cliff Notes versions of the Psalms, I guess, that somehow we get credit for all of it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but if you're gonna have a Cliff Notes version, right? Psalm 150 is about how no matter what, sometimes you just gotta celebrate, right? Sometimes you have to find the joy. And it's not something rational always, right? It's something that comes out through our instruments, through our bodies, through our drums, through our cymbals, through everything that we have. So I invite all of us to, however we can, find the joy. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, kerov gudlo. Hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar. Hallelujah, benever v'chino. Hallelujah, betof u'machor. Hallelujah, meaning-fllled. Hallelujah, 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 b'tzitz le'shama. Hallelujah, b'tzitz le'tshua. Kol hanshama tehallel. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
So we move out of our warm-up. Hopefully you feel energized and grateful for this not as beautiful Shabbat day, but being awake and alive on this Shabbat day. It's a little cooler outside, so hopefully you feel some of that energy as we move out of our warm-up and into the rest of our service, which is separated by the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadav Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'omad Yivrach Rutei V'yamlich Malchutei B'chayechon Uvyomechon Uvchayedecho Be'Yisrael Bagala Bagala Uvizman Kariv V'yimeru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'alam olam me'almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yiromam v'yitnaseh v'yitada v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha brichu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma V'yimeru Amen. Baruch Hu, we traditionally rise and turn towards Jerusalem. We turn like spokes on a wheel towards one place. A different sort of Jewish geography than we normally play. And yet, there's something, I don't know, I keep holding on to this image during the pandemic, when it can feel so isolating, right? All of us separate from each other in a way we haven't been, whether we're in our homes or whether we're in the grocery stores with masks on, right? There is a separateness, there is a distance. And yet, there is something about this idea that wherever we are, the Jews all over the world, all of us rise and we face towards each other. So we're gonna stand up here, or at least I'm gonna stand up, and we invite you to
Rise as you are able.
Rise as you're able, or interested, or spiritually, or whatever that looks like. Hit Adonai HaMevorach Yairei Yadadai Yadadai Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yairei, yadadai, yairei, yadadai, Before we say the Shema, the ancient rabbis said there were two meditations we had to have. Yotzer Or and Ahava Rabbah, at least in the morning. There's slightly different versions at night. But they're meditations, they're not prayers, they're a mindset, they're a way of approaching our world and in our universe. They're not pleas. If there is a plea, it's just a plea that we ourselves can change. So we start with Yotzer Or, this idea of looking at the universe not from our own perspective, whether we're talking the physical perspective of space or the perspective of this very short moment in time that we call our lives. Yotzer Or calls us to zoom out on that perspective and to zoom in instead on a divine perspective, on a cosmic perspective, to look at ourselves as not being the center, but as being profoundly, existentially small. This can be hard, right? It can be depressing sometimes, I think. But I also find that it can be liberating, right? All the things that we're holding on to that can feel so big and are so big sometimes. And yet, if we back away far enough, somehow it feels just a little easier to carry. עושה שלום וברא את הכל יוצרו, paint with light, וברא חושך, in darkness from nothing, עושה שלום, make peace, וברא את הכל, and everything out of nothingness. Yadai, 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 yadai.
I'm going to read it. So one thing that brings me comfort is repetition and routine. And so I have my CRCC door here, which I love and miss using all the time. And I thought I would share the English of Ahava Rabbah, the interpretation, because I know it's something many of us know, and hopefully it will bring all of us some comfort. We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us, even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved by an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. Blessed are you, wholly present in the universe, who loves all creation.
So we have the Shema, the closest to what Judaism has to what we would call a doxological statement, right? A statement of faith. This is that moment, if you've been to a Christian service particularly, no, I guess you'd find it in Protestant and Catholic services, where people rise for the statement of faith, right? This is one of the origins, at least in American Judaism, of the custom to stand for the Shema, though the idea of standing for the Shema goes back thousands of years too. But one of the customs is this, that this is the closest we have to a statement of faith. But if this is a statement of faith, if this is our statement of faith, then I think we translate it really poorly, right? For many of us who grew up in American Reform Judaism, I grew up at maybe a different translation, but for many of us, we grew up with a translation of Shema that says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord God, the Lord is one." So this word Lord, which is always the word that I stumble upon and get stuck on, right? This is not, whatever my image of the divine is, I can assure you it has nothing to do with a feudal lord.
All I see is Susan Spiegel saying she hates the word Lord.
Yeah. But that's not what it says. It's not what it says in the Shema. It's a bad translation. The actual Shema says, "Shema Yisrael, listen, Israel, pay attention, Israel." Yud He Vav He, this impossible form of the name of God, which is really a verb. It's an impossible verb. It's a verb of existence. It's a verb that contains was, is, and will be all at once. Listen, Israel. Listen. That which was, that which is, and that which will be. That's what we mean by this word Eloheinu. That's what we mean by this word our God. That which was, that which is, and that which will be is fundamentally one. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto. And so with Via Hafta, with the first of the three paragraphs that follow this line, the Shema, we talk about what it means to live our values every moment of every day, to live the best of us when we go out and when we are at home. Right?
When we sleep and when we're awake.
Yeah, and all the times in between. And right, so often it's easier, I think, sometimes to live the best of our values when we are away than when we are at home. Particularly when we've been at home for a long time. No, but right, think about...
Yeah.
It has stuck with me. We did Gavi was a part of a study that he was very excited about kids who have tics, and he loved it. He's so into like helping science. But they asked all of these questions of us beforehand, and a whole set of these questions were asking to see if the kids had psychopathic tendencies, I guess would be probably the technical description, right? And at each of these, right, like, does your child ever hurt or cause pain or violence to another person without cause? For each of these, it included in parentheses afterwards, other than a sibling. And it just like, it struck me, right? Because of course, right? Like, it's obvious. I wish everyone could see Kylie. She's clapping here right now. Right? Of course, this is true, and we just sort of know it deep inside that how often is it that we are our very worst selves to the people we love the most. And so Via Hafta reminds us there is no such thing as the values that we proclaim. Right? Those are not real values. Those are just PR. The only real values are how we live. And I think maybe the real test of that is how we treat the people closest to us. So we recommit ourselves.
Although if you're hitting and abusing your sibling, it's not really living by your values.
That's my point,
Yeah,
right? Like,
I know.
that's exactly my point. That's not living your values. Right? But it's just, my point was, like, it's so baked into our, we expect that people are awful to their, which is awful, right?
I was pretty awful to my brother.
I was awful, yeah.
Stephen, if you're there, I'm very sorry for all the pain I caused you in your life.
And so we recommit to being that best version of ourselves with the words of Via Hafta. Via Hafta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, and because we can't be the best version of ourselves if we don't take a moment, the rabbis say, to remember the experience of having been slaves in Egypt, of having been strangers in a strange land. They don't even let us finish the Via Hafta without remembering this. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
So we continue with the Micha Milcha. This was written by Annie Matan. Almighty God, I have known fear, and I have known comfort. And here in this moment, my eyes are wide open. My heart is wide open. With each step, my heart pounds, and I can feel my lips stretching into a smile. The sounds of the sea are all around, and the sounds of children, laughing, playing, running. You are here and everywhere, between me and this miracle, in my heart, in the winged ones above, and in the spray of the sea that cools my face. This journey has been so long. I have been so tired, and I have been so afraid. But here, in this moment, between the certainty of death and loss, and the wonder of an open way ahead that seems to go on forever, between the sea and the sea, here I am, and here you are. You are a gift. I can see with my feet on this muddy earth, with the tips of my fingers tracing wet lines through the walls of water that hold me in. Hold me up. Hold me close. You are here, inside me, pulling me to safety, to your side, one mud-soaked step at a time.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות הוסף לנורא תהילות הוסף לירא ים נירירא שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפת הים יחד כולם הודו וימלכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ידענה יום נירינה Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael. Uvdeichinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael. This is maybe the most chutzpahdik thing we've got in the whole Siddur. We command God. Tzur Yisrael, Rock of Israel, rise in support of us. God, no longer sit and sleep. We command. We cry out that this world is so broken that we command the divine to enter into it. And yet the mystic tradition in Reform Jews, because Reform Jews are often so much closer to the mystic tradition than we might imagine. But Reform Jews picked up on this tradition, which is that when we say the word kuma, ordering God, this chutzpahdik word, right? God has to rise in support of us. That in fact it is us who rise. Recognizing that our whole point, the whole purpose of our existence is to find the brokenness in this world and do the holy chutzpahdik work of repairing it. Tzur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael. Uvdeichinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael, Rock of Israel, help us to rise in support of the broken world. Go'aleinu Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, God of strength. We need strength to repair a broken universe. Kedosh Yisrael, the holiness that is here. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Blessed is the source of holiness that helps us be agents of redemption in this world. And so we enter into the Amidah. We enter into the part of the service that is prayer, actually. Everything up to this has not been prayer. Everything up to this has been mindset, has been preparation, has been getting us ready for this moment of prayer. And yet the Amidah is the moment, sort of the rubber meets the road moment of the Jewish Siddur, of our ordering, of our prayer. It's the moment when we look outwards. If everything before this, if the Shema and its blessings are about recognizing the distance between the people we have been and the people we are called to have been and the people we are called to become, then the Amidah, I think, is about the distance between the world as it is and the world as we are obliged to create it, right? The Amidah is as political as it comes. There is no escaping politics in our Jewish Siddur, right? You open up a Siddur and it's full of politics. Our dream of Michamocha, our dream of Amidah, is a world where everything is as it should, right? Where everyone has food and has plenty and has access to healthcare, and where we are living in a world without racism and homophobia and transphobia, where we are living in a world where everyone has access to a full spectrum of reproductive health.
In a world where people forgive.
In a world where people forgive. And so we enter into the Amidah. We enter in knowing that it is our job to create that holiness. And we also remember that on Shabbat, the intermediate prayers, the 13 prayers of the Amidah that are all about the way the world should be, are actually replaced by one prayer that is all about rest. And it strikes me we are in a moment right now that it makes it clearer than maybe any moment in my life up to this, that rest itself is a luxury good that is given to people with privilege and not given to folks without it. That rest itself is a privilege, right? I live in a world where people drop off Instacart at my door, where I am effectively paying other people to go take a risk for me, right? This is the definition of privilege. This is the definition of rest being something that is available to some of us and not to all of us. And so when we say this blessing of the Amidah, I don't think that we've taken out the 13 blessings that are the political piece and replaced it with a non-political rest blessing. I actually think we've replaced these 13 blessings with something even more political, which is a demand that everyone have equal access to the luxury goods of our world, with the most important luxury good simply being the freedom to be ourselves, to rest, to be safe, to be at home. And so this is the world that we commit to as we say the Amidah, as we call each other to lives of goodness and meaning. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi, Tehilatecha, Havaya, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi, Tehilatecha. Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha Adonai, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Havaya Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha.
We rise once again as we are able, as we move into the Avot Va'imahot, as we call on our ancestors to help give us exactly what Daniel was talking about, to give us the strength and the courage and everything we need. We remember those who came before us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Bilha, Elohei Zilpah, Ha'el Hagadol Ha'ovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevin Goel Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rab le'hoshia, Mechakel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umkayem emunato, Lishanei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melach, Melech mimit, Umchaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Michaye hakol.
Oh, here's Stacey.
Mikadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא Shama. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech haaretz, Kivodo. Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Madir, Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch kevod Adonai, Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, Umalkeinu, Malkeinu, Umoshienu ve'or yashmienu, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי את ציון, לטוב אדון. הללויה. לטוב אדון נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
So we continue with Vishamru, which is the blessing over rest that Daniel was talking about. There's a line in the Talmud, actually, in Tractate Shabbat, which says, Rav Huna said, one who was walking along the way or in the desert, and they do not know when Shabbat occurs. They count 6 days and observe Shabbat, and observe one day as Shabbat. So for those of us that are able to observe this day of rest, I think it's really crucial to our being. If it's a gift we can give somebody else, it's such a gift if we're able to do that, to give somebody else rest. But they're really highlighting the importance of setting this day aside, of giving ourselves a break if we are able to. They didn't know about the coronavirus, and they didn't really know about the pandemic, but they did understand that people need a break, and people need a day aside to gather themselves. And so this is Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lahasor et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורתם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם. So we take a moment for private prayer, for the prayer of our hearts. Just a couple moments of quiet, and then we will conclude our Amidah with our prayer for peace. Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha.
So we're going to move into would be our Torah service, but we're going to do things a little bit differently this Shabbat morning because it's such a special Shabbat, because it's Shabbat Nachamu. We're not going to read the Torah portion for this week. We're going to read the Haftorah portion for this week because it's so special and we really want you to hear it. Here.
Oh, you already pulled it for me?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Karen mentioned earlier on today that this is the beginning of a 7-week period. Really, actually, I think we can think of it as the second step in a 10-week period, maybe. That we could probably zoom out even more and include the high holy days. But there are these 10 weeks in a row where we have special Haftorah portions. For most of the year, but we have three before.
Yeah, sorry.
But for most of the year, the Haftorah that we read, this selection from the prophets, goes thematically along with whatever the Torah portion is that week. But that stops during this time of year. Leading up to Tisha B'Av, to this sort of national day of Jewish mourning, this day of Jewish national mourning, this, I don't know what order you put it in, you could probably say it in both directions actually. Leading up to this day, there are 3 special Haftarot. There are 3 weeks where we have these Haftarah portions that are brutal, that are indictments of us and of our society and of who we are. And God knows, right, like looking around at our world as it is right now, we deserve those indictments and more. And yet, we only have 3 of those. And then we have 7 Haftarot of consolation, of comfort. That are here to try to reassure us.
And point out the first few words.
Yeah, so in fact, our Shabbat this week, Shabbat Nachamu, gets its name from the first few words of this Haftarah portion. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. Comfort, my people, comfort. So we are going to read the Haftorah today rather than the Torah portion. So we're going to try this. We'll see how it goes.
We've done it a few times.
We've done it a few times, where I will chant the Haftorah in Hebrew, and Karen is going to say it in English over me, hopefully louder than me.
That's the problem without a microphone.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll see what happens.
And you all can't see Kylan and Shani, but they're going to like wave their hands if I'm too loud or something. And you can't hear Karen, right? Yep, is that? Yep.
So I'm changing my name. So
you're changing your name.
Karen anymore.
You don't want to be a Karen anymore. Yes. Yeah. Her mom didn't believe her about the whole phenomenon of Karens, and so she's been sending her.
There was an article in the New York Times yesterday about it, actually. So I'm really changing my name now.
I don't know. Changing your name seems like a Karen move to me, but that's. Okay. Anyways, back to our Haftorah. What's the consolation? I see no connection to consolation here. I'm trying. I'm not pulling straws between the Karen piece. Care. Good. So anyways, we will say our blessings before the Haftorah portion, and we will hear this portion.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam.
That's it.
Asher bacha b'nivim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hanemarim be'amet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'v'Moshe avdohu u'v'Yisrael amo v'nvi'ei hamet v'tzedek. Nachamu ami yomar Elohechem dabru alev Yerushalayim.
Comfort, O comfort my people, says Adonai. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and declare to her that her term of service is over, that her iniquity is expiated. For she has received at the hand of Adonai double for all of her sins.
Panu derech Adonai yashruhu ba'arava mislal Eloheinu.
A voice rings out, clear in the desert a road for Adonai, level in the wilderness a highway for our God.
Vayakov lemishor vachisim levikam.
Let every valley be raised, every hill and mount made low. Let the rugged ground become level, and the ridges become a plain. The presence of Adonai shall appear, and all flesh as one shall behold, for Adonai has spoken. A voice rings out, proclaim. Another asks, what shall I proclaim? All flesh is grass, all its goodness like flowers of the field. Grass withers, flowers fade, when the breath of Adonai blows on them. Indeed, humankind is but grass. Grass withers, flowers fade, but the word of Adonai is always fulfilled. Ascend a lofty mountain, O herald of joy to Zion. Raise your voice with power. Bring joy to Jerusalem. Raise it. Have no fear. Announce to the cities of Judah. Behold your God.
Hine Adonai Eloheinu bechazak yavo uzro al mishla
Behold, Adonai comes in might, and God's arms win triumph for God. See, Adonai's reward is with Adonai, God's recompense before God.
Bizroa yikabed telaim uvcheko yisa elodinahel.
Like a shepherd, God pastures God's flock. God gathers the lambs in God's arms and carries them in God's bosom. Gently God drives the mother sheep. Who measured the waters with the hollow of God's hand, engaged the skies with a span, and meted earth's dust with a measure, and weighed the mountains with a scale, and the hills with the balance.
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ותפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. So, what you just heard, I'll just give a little quick recap and then we can jump into our conversation. Welcome, Shani and Kylan. You're on now. Okay, good. So, just a really quick recap of what we said and what you heard. The prophet Isaiah is offering these words from God to our people, to us, after the temple is destroyed and we seem to have no hope. Hope has been lost. For Isaiah, for him, the comfort existed in the belief that a better day was just over the horizon and that someday good would triumph over evil. So today, I think many of us struggle to find meaning when calamities happen to us and illness, death, divorce, violence, natural disasters, things that are out of our control. Many of us struggle. I know I struggle to find meaning during a lot of these moments. And a lot of us don't have Isaiah's unwavering faith. So we have to look for other places to find comfort and to find consolation during these times.
I'll tell you also the piece I've been holding on to from all of this is I keep feeling at moments like, particularly after I have been the worst version of myself, right? We all have those moments where we are the worst version of ourselves, but it feels like sometimes they're a little more packed together during this pandemic moment, maybe as we are all a little more packed together. But I really struggle with this idea of not feeling like I deserve comfort afterwards. Like that I'm not worthy of comfort afterwards. And I don't know, I'm holding on to this idea of Shabbat Nachamu, that it's awful, right? The things that we talk about for the 3 weeks leading up to this, the things that we talk about on Tisha B'Av, we locate within ourselves, like the ways that we have led to these calamities, and we do all of this work. But really, what could be more awful than the awfulness that led to all of these awful moments of Tisha B'Av? And yet, if they deserved comfort afterwards, and if not just, right, like a little bit of comfort, not 1 week of comfort after 3 weeks of despair, but instead, right, 7 weeks of comfort after 3 weeks of despair. I don't know, I'm holding on to this idea that we all deserve comfort, that we are all worthy of comfort. So this has been my reflection on Shabbat Nachamu. Can we bring in our other cantor and our rabbi over here? What, you have thoughts on Shabbat Nachamu?
I think it's sort of framed sort of like privilege and a right. And a privilege being something that you earn. Definitely in the Bible and Judaism. And then comfort being a right, something to which everybody is entitled.
love that, Kylan.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Shani, any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I agree with that. Thinking about how we can make that right more widespread for people or available. It's an interesting question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, for sure. I read this article in the New York Times a few days ago that talked about nostalgia as a form of comfort. And it said that sometimes we need to go back. We'll see something like, because God knows we're watching all this TV these days, we'll see something, we'll read something, and it'll take us back to our childhood or back to a different moment. And that can be really powerful and a way to get some comfort these days. I know, we did this at the family service, and we talked about comfort. And for kids, it's about the lovey. It's about what they sleep with at night, or what gives them that warm feeling when they're feeling, really sad or out of body. But it can be different for adults.
I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it's exactly the same for adults. But I still have my blankie from childhood, so maybe
we don't also sleep with our blankies. Some of us had our puppies destroy our loveys while we were out of town.
Yes.
I don't know about that. But for kids, it really is that lovey, and I think for adults, sometimes going back to those moments can be really powerful and comforting.
I guess the other thing for me too is, I don't know that there's any comfort quite like music for me. Right? There is nothing that soothes me like music. I think it's how I sort of turned into something of a musician, was that in my worst moments as a kid, I could always pick up a guitar or bang on a piano and somehow let out those feelings. So I'm so excited that you're with us, Shani, today. That you're going to offer us a Nachamu, because yeah,
I totally agree. I think that music has a certain power that you can't really describe, or it doesn't really make logical sense, but somehow it can bring people comfort. So this is a setting of the text that rabbis chanted for us today, that is by Alana Arian, who's a singer, songwriter, musician in the New York area and travels around. But I really love this setting that she wrote for those words of comfort. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. 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 Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle in this world. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem.
thank you.
We needed to let that one sink in for a minute. That was perfect. Perfect. So Another way to bring comfort is by saying a mishaberach, a blessing of healing, so that we know those in our communities that need some extra help, some extra love, some extra blessings. Last Monday.
So we fill our hearts with these blessings. I know we have a thing in our family. I don't even like saying it out loud, but we're going to say it out loud now. Please, 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 Misha Berach, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May she live long years.
You can't say it.
Yeah.
Okay, so a healing prayer for a time of pandemic by Rabbi Brant Rosen. May the one who blesses all life bless those who are ill with a refuah shlema, complete healing of body and spirit. May they find the strength to move safely through this time of fear and pain, dis-ease and uncertainty. May their loved ones find comfort through the love of their families, friends, and communities. Let us faithfully support our health professionals who put their own lives at risk to treat their patients. May we do what we must to ensure that scientists and researchers have the resources they need to diagnose illness and prevent its spread. Let us demand that our leaders and officials honor the public trust we've entrusted to them by prioritizing the health of our communities. May we forever fight for the well-being of those who are most vulnerable in our midst, the poor, the homeless, the disabled, the uninsured. And when this pandemic is over, may it happen bimheira b'yameinu, soon in our day. Let us commit to building at long last a society that takes responsibility for the health of all who dwell in our midst. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
Whoops, I have it. So we have a few people on our list. I hope people you are thinking of right now, you can send blessings to.
And if there's someone you're thinking of and you'd like us to share their name, please just put it into the chat and we will try to find it.
So the names I have: Finn Naylor, Art Silverblatt, Wanda Stutz-Rhine, Meredith Pritchett, Elaine Thornton, Rick Hack, Gail Rock, Huey Powell, Specialist Evan Richards, Morris Tamsky, Carrie Schulman, Caroline Harvath, Susan Schroeder, Ron Fagerstrom, and Sharon Miller.
I'm also thinking of my grandma, Adele Zerman, who just lost her husband this week. And for all of those that we love, for all of those that we know that are in need of healing, that are in need of blessing, and for all of those that we don't, the words we've shared, the words we hold, the words we just don't know. Misha Berach L'Cholim.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. It's now time to start concluding our service with Aleinu. And it was maybe not this week, maybe it was a couple weeks ago in the Tuesday night Talmud class when we were talking about how there are parts of Aleinu we don't quite agree with. It's sort of a very authoritarian prayer. But also, and I believe this phrase came from Rabbi Daniel, a fantasy of a perfect world. And I think as we're searching for comfort and speaking about the very privilege that Shabbat is, I'm reminded of Rabbi Yitz Greenberg's idea that it's only by tasting freedom that we can imagine freedom. And maybe it's only by feeling comfort that we can imagine comfort. So if you are able, please rise for Aleinu. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים. מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבותה אליך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. And it's so obvious in the midst of this pandemic that death is everywhere and that life is fragile and treasured. And I think there's so much fear in the unknown. When will it end? And as we seek comfort, I'm reminded of the combination of this parashah and this haftorah. In this parasha, Moses is told to give courage and strength to Joshua, and in the Haftorah, we are given comfort. So this week, we remember the archetypes of Betty Davis, the sister of Janet Ward, Louis Friedman, grandfather of Eric Friedman, Louis A. Lepofsky, father of Elaine Keston, Max B. Roden, father of Miriam Roden, and our recently lost Caroline Harvath, a dear friend of Marcy Brodsky, Rich Amaker, father of Ezra and Sam Amaker, Jerry Brown, husband of Pam Brown. And if you're thinking of anyone and you want to share them with the community, feel free to do so in the chat. And please rise to be with and comfort our mourners. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'amad yivrach yirteh ve'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon uv'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei amaya. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו
אמן.
יהי שלום רב מן שמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
אמן.
עושה שלום ורמה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen. May our loved ones' memories always bring blessing and comfort to us. Amen.
So we say Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of those that we miss, all of those that we mourn, be a blessing. I know I'm thinking of Stan Zerman today, my grandma's husband, who was never a grandfather to me. He and my grandma got married. I don't know when they got married. They started dating 15 years ago or something. My year in Israel, Grandma and Stan came and visited us and spent a week there in rabbinical school. Just a week I treasure. And Stan was never my grandfather, but that didn't even a little bit stop him from insisting on being a great grandfather to our children. So I know there are so many people out there who are mourning for Stan Zerman and for so many and for so much loss. Zichronam Livracha. So
Shift gears.
yeah, we don't stay at mourning, right? There, just like in the Passover Seder, we move towards joy. We're going to move a little bit towards joy here also, and it is the joy, the bittersweet joy of saying goodbye to Rabbi Kylan, who has been our rabbinic intern these last 6 weeks and has been a beloved friend who's really a family member.
And she's brought so much to our community.
So much.
And made such an impact in only 6 weeks. I know many of us, anyone who has come into contact with her is going to miss her.
I keep telling Kylan this, but I have gotten so many notes from people who just sent me 1 or 2 line notes that say, thank you for bringing Rabbi Kylan to our community. Kylan, I have known you since my very first weekend being a rabbi or pretending to be a rabbi in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, right after arriving back from Jerusalem in my second year of rabbinical school. And I have believed for years and years that you are going to be a truly exceptional and extraordinary rabbi. I believe it even more after these 6 weeks with you, and I genuinely believe that one of the very best things that I've ever done for the Jewish people is encourage you to apply for rabbinical school.
Any community is going to be so lucky to have you or both of you or whatever your future looks like. You have so much to offer, and we're so grateful that you brought a little bit of that to us this summer.
So we love you, and our hope and our blessing for you is easy. It's just that you continue being as honest and truly authentic to yourself as you have been these last 6 weeks. That the two of you find ways to grow together in this next journey. We are aware very much of the blessings and the challenges of a two rabbi or two clergy couple or whatever, how we describe these things. But you two are going to be amazing. So,
yeah. And you know, in the theme of Shabbat Nachamu, I know you will keep bringing comfort to anyone whose paths you cross, for sure.
Yep. So we're going to put our arms around each other. We're going to give each other a blessing. Oh, it kind of doubled there. Oh, well.
Aw.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God watch over you and bless you and keep each and every one of you safe.
And we're going to turn these next two over to you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
Whoever wants it.
May you find light even in the darkest moments.
Yis Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. See, Rabbi Susan prepared me long ago for being put on the spot this way, but it's new for them.
And we hope that you need less and less comfort, but that whenever you need it, you always find it in abundance.
May you find peace.
Beautiful.
Amen.
Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Okay, Shani, can we put you on the spot? Will you do a closing something for us? And
Anything
you want.
Anything you want.
Totally up to you.
But then
Do you have one? Are you doing
It was
something?
beautiful. I was.
No, I'm going to butt in.
Yeah.
And I just want to publicly thank CRC for its radical hospitality. It's not every congregation that will open its doors kind of last minute in the middle of a pandemic and let me in to learn so much in every corner of CRC. And thank you so much.
Kylan, I've believed it since the first moment I met you. You belong at CRC. It's your CRC and your Kishkas.
So maybe in the future, someday.
Yeah, there you go.
It will happen again.
Yeah. You watch out. Rabbi Susan said that to me for years too. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Oh, right, we need our song.
Shalom. Okay, we're going to end with that blessing for peace. Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom in Rama. Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Ve'imru.
Joyous and comforting way to end Shabbat. Thank you. What do you go? Cantor Shani? What do we call you? Chazan Shani?
Sure.
Chazanit, yeah.
Chazanit. And Rabbi Kylan. Thank you both so much for all that you've brought to our Shabbat morning and all that you've brought to CRC.
Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom.
Thank you so much for having us. Shabbat Shalom.